just be recording the. Oh. Cool.
In case you
Oh,
didn't
I like how
know.
you can do this consenting thing. But it'll be just us that will be on the recording, the facilitators. So yeah, I feel like we can kind of keep this fluid. You know, if there's anything that's like, oh, this is a piece like that I've been curious about, like Quinn, you brought in that you were the terms of that you were exploring around the indigenous nations that you're on and stuff. And so I feel like we can leave this pretty open and just like what's stirring up in your world, whether it relates to bravery or anything else. Does that sound good to y'all? Cool. All right. So yeah, I think we're just tuning into our bodies a little bit. Like, where are we at? What's up? Jacob just flew right in off of a trip. where's our bodies at? What are we doing? How are we feeling? And then what can make our worlds a little bit more comfortable to be here?
Peace. Everlasting.
Everlasting peace. Catman.
French
Lotion,
fries.
stretches, and then bravery. You know what we're exploring with bravery was really this whole area here, this thoracic inlet gateway, kind of like a portal. And so, what's happening now up here in your shoulders and your neck, your jaw? And so you're just noticing if you want to touch and give any places any kind of love, but like, where are you? What's happening right now? Are your shoulders up by your ears? Do you feel relaxed? Is your jaw clenched? Do you feel openness in your throat? And you're just kind of tracking through this area, what you're feeling right now. And noticing any places where you feel any kind of bracing, tightness or holding, giving those places some attention and just seeing like, is there any way where it would feel safe enough to let that bracing relax a little bit more? Anything that would make you feel more comfortable for that bracing to kind of yield into relaxation. Often we're really holding this place in our bodies for so many reasons. Throughout the day, our shoulders kind of creep up into our ears, or we're protecting ourselves out there in the world. But here right now with each other, we're in our homes, and if you want to like look around at your house, like you're there, you're home, you're in your safe place. See if there's any more space that can be offered to this gateway that we have. We'll just spend another minute or so here. And we can always like to give thanks for these protective parts, even if they're overworking themselves. Sometimes they are doing their job. The body really does try to protect us. And notice if you feel any different when you first arrived here after doing this. more space or more sensation that you're feeling in this area, or just general awareness of it might have increased. All right. You're welcome to keep moving as much as you need to take care of yourself. But we're gonna just bring our attention back to each other. And we have these spheres of familiarity that we're starting to touch into. And so, it's always an invitation to check in with yourself about where you're at. Are you in the meadow? Are you in the extended family? The curious engagement. And so something like the meadow online space might be like your camera's off and maybe you're like doing your dishes or resting or something like that, or you can have your camera on too. Extended family just might be like, you don't want to share, don't feel like sharing, but you're here, you're a little bit closer to the group. Curious engagement is sort of just being fully in it. So you're welcome to move in and out of those spheres as you see fit throughout this time together. So we have our general group guidelines. I'm not going to go over them, but maybe if Jeanette or Brian can pop them in the chat just in case. So if you're sharing, if you feel called to share, maybe just let folks know. And put the hand up for like if you want your share to be commented on. The little hand up reaction. And so we have our prompts too, which we'll post in there, but we're gonna listen to Brian sing the song. And as that's happening, you can sing along or tune into your experience of what it's like to hear Brian sing and what it feels like in your body. And then we'll have a little share time. I'll hand it off to you, Brian.
Hello, folks. I'm Brian. I use pronouns he and they. And I believe I pinned myself. Yes, I pinned myself. I've been, just as out of curiosity, because I never really talked about using they pronouns with you folks, is I've utilized that as a way to extend the invitation to use non-binary pronouns on me as a welcome space to bridge a gap that might be perceived, might not, but so I use he and they. I'm here in Southeast Portland and on the land of the Cowlitz and Clackamas people. And I'm going to sing Do Me Justice today. Well, here I am from Donegal, and I feel quite discontented to hear the way that we're on down, not fairly represented. For they say it is a general rule to make out Pat a knave or a fool, but never mind, we'll play it cool and speak up for old Ireland. Do me justice, treat me fair, and I won't be discontented. No, I won't be laughed at anywhere, but fairly represented. When on the stage I do appear with a thundering big shillelagh, with a tattered hat and a worn-out coat, you'd think I'd step out gaily. With not a word of common sense, they don't know and they give offence, but carry on at Pat's expense. Just let them come to Ireland. Oh, do me justice, treat me fair, and I won't be discontented. No, I won't be laughed at anywhere, but fairly represented. There's Mr. Punch with his literature, he tries to hurt us badly. Whene'er he draws our caricature, he depicts us rather sadly. With crooked limbs and villainous face, he represents the Irish race. I'm sure it is a great disgrace. We think so in old Ireland. Oh, do me justice, treat me fair, and I won't be discontented. No, I won't be laughed at anywhere, but fairly represented. They say we're lazy and dirty got, but what's the use to grumble? Whene'er they enter our Irish cot, they're welcome though it's humble. In public works the country round, and where hard work is to be found, in a railway tunnel underground, sure you'll find the boys from Ireland. Oh, do me justice, treat me fair, and I won't be discontented. No, I won't be laughed at anywhere, but fairly represented. It's very true, I like a glass. It makes my heart feel frisky, and I'm very fond of a comely lass, and I'm partial to the whiskey. I am very quiet when left alone. I do what I like with what's my own. But woe be to the foes a home who dare tread on old Ireland. Do me justice, treat me fair, and I won't be discontented. No, I won't be laughed at anywhere, but fairly represented. Oh, do me justice, treat me fair, and I won't be discontented. No, I won't be laughed at anywhere, but fairly represented. Yay!
Thank you. Welcome, Alberta. Hi. Hmm. So we just listened to Brian sing, obviously, and then we're just going to share a little bit about. I'm going to. I think we should put that information in the chat again so Alberta can get it. If you're willing to do that, Jeanette. Okay, so we have our group guidelines, Alberta, and then I think the only one that's probably new since you were last here is that um, we're as we're sharing, there's like a little reaction button down at the bottom. If you want people to comment on your share or you welcome it, you give consent to it, then you put the hand up. And then if you're like, I shared something and I don't really want people to add on to it or reflect on it in any way, then just leave that blank. And then if you have trouble finding that reaction, that's no problem. You can also, it's a small group, so I feel like we can just share if we feel like it's okay or not to. So, um, but I think also now, because we're recording, we're going to, Jeanette, if do you feel willing to share your experience first, and then it'll be me, and then Brienne, and then we'll stop the recording and we'll check in with you all.
Interesting to re-listen to that. We mentioned at the beginning that because we're recording our videos the week before, I'm like still in this week, which is like the heart space and grief and love and courage. But the song brought me back to bravery again. And I remembered how intense last week was. It's like we kind of created this arc where we thought, okay, we'll lead up to bravery and then we'll do the heart space and then we'll come back down into trusting our gut and pleasure. And I don't think the peak is intense. And it was interesting because we were doing the recordings and talking about the song at the same time Gaza was being bombed and attacked, and that's ongoing. And so there was a lot of conversations between the three of us about what are we going to say publicly as Granite Connections, as like folks who have been colonized and then have then become colonizers through settler colonialism, a similar process. And how do we do this in a way that honors also that anti-Semitism is real? And so how do we hold both these things? So yeah, it was a big week. I thought this song, I remember when the three of us were talking about it at the beginning of last week and how much it brought up for all three of us. And it's hard for me to pull apart my own experience from watching Brian when you were singing it the last week to us before we started our group, like diving in deeper. And I remember River, your experience with it too. And I think one of the things that I've been thinking about with bravery is the ways it's like, there's so many different kinds. There's like in the moment, small moments of bravery. There's like noticing something that you want to be brave about, but takes time to figure out how you want to be brave or how you want to intervene. And then, yeah, and how to maybe hold that sometimes bravery takes time to move into and sometimes bravery is instantaneous. I think I'm just sitting with the complexity of like, I think that that's what this is. I think that it's hard for me to separate bravery from grief and courage and love. And because of the way we're creating this, I feel like I'm situated between the two. And I'm kind of hopeful that my next week's share is going to be a little more coherent because they'll all be like, have had some time. But I'm excited for what this week did for us with Grounded Connections, because I know we have thoughts about why we are doing this work the way we are, but publicly, beyond the folks who've been with us at the beginning, we haven't articulated that quite as much as I think we want to. And so I think that the Bravery Week combined with this upcoming week with Heart Space has kind of catapulted the three of us into being like, okay, we want to center that a little bit more publicly. Like it's on our website, but it's maybe not on our Instagram or YouTube and stuff. So I'm excited for the ways that the experiment is doing what it's supposed to do for like us individually and collectively and as an organization. So trusting the very strange magic. Check. And you can comment on my share. I'll do my reaction.
Thanks, Jeanette. And as always, the invitation is to take a couple breaths or move in between each person's share, just to give it some space before we move on. Yeah, I guess I'll go next. River, they, them, Anishinaabe territory, so-called Sacramento, California. I don't have any access needs right now. Yeah, I feel kind of similarly in that I feel like I'm locked into the heart space, but it still feels really connected to bravery. And I feel like this whole area on my body, out of like anywhere in my body, feels like the most rigid and locked place. And so when I think about bravery, I mean, yeah, it's a super complex thing because it's definitely sometimes it's not always safe, or you have to like feel into the situation. There's like a million ways and a million situations to be in, and whether or not bravery ends up being there or not. And these like moments that I've felt so brave or I've done something that felt like it was so outside of myself. Um, and that is really interesting to me. And that feels like a totally different experience where I don't feel quite locked here. I feel really like grounded and I don't even know what that's like. It's like lightning through my body or something. It feels just I, I don't even know how to describe it. There's just sometimes where I surprise myself by what I do. And then other times where I feel like I struggle really hard to say the things that I want to say or um yeah, to be brave. And I feel like I've been thinking a lot about myself as a kid and how brave I was then and then how I feel like it's been like just pushed and squashed out of me in these like really intense ways like because if I was brave I was being honest and then I was rude or um all the I don't know all these social ways I had to be as I was socialized as a girl and like to be quiet to not take up space to be um to especially not talk back to your elders even if they were doing really fucked up shit which they were and it was just like I remember this experience of being like why aren't the adults doing what they're supposed to be doing like they're seeing all this injustice and they have power and like why aren't they doing it and then I've just been thinking about like where I'm at now and how did I get here where to this whole place feels super rigid and locked down and struggle to speak out and I feel some shame around that and um, yeah I'm just like I keep thinking I'm trying to like tap into this younger part of myself that was just so I don't even know easefully brave um, and sad that it's been like crushed out of me and it's a place that I feel like I really want to explore more and work on a little bit more and like lean into open this place up, start doing this. And part of that is like I I don't want to do it alone. So it feels really good to be doing this alongside people where we're like, what is this? How are we figuring this out? What is this? How do we feel about it? And yeah, and then the song I sang it a couple times in the shower to my spiders in the bathroom. Hi, Asia. Hello. Welcome. Um, yeah, bathroom spiders who were like, wow. That's why I felt like they're looking at me. I posted this meme. It was just like a spider with popcorn, like, whoa, could you being brave in the shower singing? So I don't know. Yeah, I feel like I feel like I'm trying to remember how I felt about it, but I've been also just been noticing other people's bravery and feeling really overwhelmed by even the smallest things to larger experiences and um it's like it's coming up more and paying attention to it more and seeing it in other people and trying to see it in myself as well so yeah I'm singing the song and trying to like add warmth to this place to my voice and speaking truth so I think that's it check yeah I bet they like the song thanks Gwen so yeah stretches all the good stuffs. And then I'm gonna hand it off to Brian. I'm not timing at all because we just don't have, you know, people can just share as they feel good. You're welcome to comment on my share.
I like the spiders. Like that I've been following that TikToker. Mostly because jumping spiders are my favorite type of spiders. They're the puppies of the spider world, really. Some Brian I mentioned before, he and they pronouns on the land of the Clackamas and Cowlitz people here in southeast Portland. And bravery is a really tricky thing. I've reflected a lot on that outside of just the song, the experience of singing that song. And I think bravery is like, I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of maybe negative fallout from trying to be brave earlier in my life and having that kind of replaced with cowardice and shame at times for not being able to speak up in a way. And not possibly having like very very good role models to model that kind of behavior. And I think that's a really unfortunate circumstance that River has also experienced, to be around people who had were in a position of power to change things and didn't. So bravery is like I've been trying to sit with what is bravery and how has that changed over my life. And I think when I was younger, I likely knew it was right, but didn't feel in a position to stand up for that. Or when I did, I was shot down, and then cowardice kind of took over, shame took over. I was a very effeminate, small child for all the way through high school. And so a lot of that was like, I feel kind of maybe aggression against some of the things that I had to say. Not necessarily because what I said wasn't true, but maybe the way that I was as a person was offensive to people. And that can be a challenging thing as well. So when I hear this song and I sing this song, I feel like it organizes myself and my emotions in a way that I can't really do in real life, because I'm very much a one deep sigh from sobbing kind of person, where I just feel a lot. And while I've tried to process that, I just come to realize I just feel a lot. And that's okay. So singing this song kind of puts me in this position to speak to truth a little bit more easily. And of course, when you sing something where everything is mapped out, it's a good model, on which to build kind of future kind of brave posts or brave declarations or having brave conversations. I know this year has been really, the last 4 or 5 years have been fairly challenging, I think, to speak up for truth and to speak very bravely about certain things, especially as a lack of kind of critical thought and open conversations has really been diminished. But I feel like this last year in particular has really placed bravery in a realm that maybe I had not quite recognized before, and said, if there's ever a time to be brave, it is now. And so that's kind of where I felt with it. It's changed, and not necessarily. I think for me, I don't quite feel it in my body as oddly as I do when I'm singing this song. So the challenge for me is to like experience what bravery feels like in my body, instead of all of these other negative attributes like shame and cowardice that also fear that kind of also kind of like keep bravery kind of caged a little bit. So that's where I feel. Shall I stop the recording?